Why do I run? Up until today, I was nervous. Not because I knew I was going to speak in front of my dad or into this camera. I was nervous because I still didn't have an answer. An answer to that question that has been at the back of my mind since the beginning of the year. Why do I run? At the start of brainstorming our Greenstone ideas, I felt completely lost. I didn't think I had an interesting passion like some of my friends. See, at Green School, I've been surrounded by amazing musicians, filmmakers, activists, and architects. I wanted to stand out in a community filled with incredibly talented people. I chose to start running, to become popular, to gain recognition, and to prove that I belonged at Green School. But that's not why I continue to run. Why do I run? At first I thought I knew, but as the year progressed and the more I trained and the more I experimented with different ideas, the further I seemed to get from answering that question. I didn't know that committing to training would turn out to be more difficult than the run itself, what experiences would come my way, or how much I would change throughout the year. Why did I feel so determined to put myself through months of difficult training? The monotony of running kilometer after kilometer, or the possible injuries I could get through repeated stress. Running a marathon in itself is no small feat, but to do 2.5 times the distance, the same distance from Ahmed to Uluwatu, I could be called insane. As the year progressed and I approached the halfway point in my Greenstone journey, I still didn't have an answer to that question. Now, not only was I becoming stressed out with trying to find that answer, but I was becoming increasingly stressed with school. Trying to graduate with good grades, ironing out those last-minute issues, and all the other problems seniors experience during their last couple months of school led me to the idea that I was running because I was trying to prove something to my parents. I felt like I needed to show how strong and mentally and physically capable I was by completing some big challenge. Not only that, but I felt like I was competing for attention with my brother. My brother is an amazing tennis player, and he has been at the center of attention in our family for a while. Normal conversations usually included tennis planning. We would talk about new tennis gear, and we would go to his matches to cheer him on. Over time, I became increasingly envious of my brother. Envious that he had found an activity that he loved spending hours on. I was envious of his confidence, his determination, never giving up when it got difficult. But as time went on, I learned that I was confusing that envy with inspiration. I was inspired by my younger brother. He had found something that he loved and that he could spend hours doing. He wasn't afraid if he lost a match and would give up, and he always kept going. I had spent so much time trying to find an answer to validate why I was running, but I wasn't trying to find that answer for myself. Instead, I was trying to find that answer for my parents, my teachers, and ultimately for my Greenstone. But why do I run? As March rolled by and 2020 decided to turn for the worst, everything changed. My whole world got flipped upside down, but I had a moment of clarity. Having to leave Bali to be with my family, I left my home and my friends behind. Moving to Singapore, replacing Green School's jungle with a concrete one. I was isolating myself from all the previous distractions of my normal life. I couldn't go hang out with friends, I couldn't go to the movies, and I couldn't go on adventures. I was in a void with nothing but myself and a lot of spare time. But that was exactly what I needed. Not having trained in months, I'd almost completely given up with my Greenstone. And It wasn't until this point that I truly realized how big of a challenge I was facing. This was my Everest, and for the first time, I felt like I was standing at base camp, looking up, ready to take on this massive challenge. My parents, naturally worried about my health and not wanting to injure myself, said that failing can be part of my Greenstone. But that was not an option. I had to see this project through to the end. I needed to finish what I set out to do and what I told everyone I was going to do. And that was the moment I realized I was no longer running for my Greenstone, but I was running because I chose to. A new beginning. That's what I titled my first run since January, since leaving Bali, and I felt like I was truly starting over. But this time, everything was different. Training flew by like a movie montage. I felt like I was eating better, my mood improved, and I was building a routine that I was proud of. I was beginning to feel that sense of passion and determination that I admired in my brother, passing by milestone after milestone. And over time, I became more and more comfortable with being alone in my thoughts, enjoying the sound of my shoes hitting the pavement over and over and over again. And as if in a trance, the last few weeks of my training flew by like a breeze. And then I made it. Camp 4, the last place climbers sleep at before making their final push to the summit. Over the last 2 months, I had run over 535 kilometers, accumulating over 89 hours of non-stop running. But I still wasn't able to answer that question. Why do I run? In the last week of training before my big race, I had a meeting with Pak Shannon's brother. He's an amazing runner and an ultramarathon coach. He asked me that exact same question, and I couldn't answer him. I told him, I hope I find that out during the race. As the day of my 100K race approached, and I was laying out all the food, electrolytes, spare socks, and blister packs that I would be needing, I couldn't fully comprehend that this was it. I had made it to the starting line, and that was half of the challenge done. Not a lot of people who set out these big goals can go through with the training and overcome obstacles that they encounter. But I had made it, and now it was time to finish the job. I tied up my shoes and counted down the final seconds to 5:30 p.m. And then I was off. I immediately got into a comfortable pace, and I was quickly joined by Fin Tiong. Being the only other person I had seen from green school in over 3 months, I was filled with a sense of energy. We talked like no time had passed, and my first 20 kilometers flew by like a breeze. But as the sun set and the kilometers continued to tick away, and I was nearing that halfway mark, the distances began to feel longer. Everything felt more and more difficult, and my legs were aching more than ever. I could identify every muscle, tendon, and ligament in my feet and legs. But I never stopped. At some points, I would walk, and at others, I would take breaks to put my feet up, but I always got back up and kept on going. As the sun finally came up, I realized I was coming close to the end. I had run for over 14 and a half hours at this point and had only 15 kilometers left to go. I felt like the finish line was finally in reach. As I completed my last lap around Singapore's Marina Bay, I looked back to everything that brought me to this moment. All of the strength and determination it took, having to overcome challenges and obstacles, all the help from my parents, my brother, Pak Shannon, Pak Matt, Daniel, and all the support from my friends and teachers. That's what made me strong enough to make it to this point. Not everyone who runs 100-kilometer races can make it to the finish line. The sun was blazing harder than ever, but I was nearly there. 2 kilometers left. I could barely process what was happening anymore. I looked down at my feet and they were still moving, but I was no longer in control of them. 1 kilometer left. I ran as if I hadn't done 99 kilometers before, my feet aching, but I ignored that pain. 500 meters left, making that final approach to where I began 17 hours earlier. Then it was 200 meters. As I turned that last corner and ran up the stairs like that scene in Rocky, I could see the finish line. A sketchy dollar store ribbon strung across 2 lines, and my mom waving a Canadian flag. 0 meters left. I was done. Too tired to cry and too exhausted to celebrate or to even think. But I knew I had finished. 101 kilometers, 380 meters, 17 hours, 17 minutes, and 52 seconds of running. Even now, as I read these numbers out, I can barely believe what I was able to accomplish. Looking back to last year, I could never see myself running anything like this, much less finish. As I learned the hard way, saying you're going to run 100 kilometers and actually doing it are 2 worlds apart. But crossing that finish line didn't just mean the end of the race. It also meant the end of Greenstones, my high school journey, and my childhood experience. Over the past year, I had learned so much about who I was, my limits and how to overcome them, who I wanted to be, and what I wanted to leave behind. I learned that I wasn't running for attention or to make people proud of me. And now I finally felt like I could answer that question. Why do I run? I run to escape the stress and chaos of everyday life, to be lost in my thoughts, the sound of my breath, and the beauty of nature. I run to challenge my limits, to build confidence, and to be proud of what I'm capable of, to enjoy the journey and discover new things about me and how I want to live my life. I run because it's fun, and I enjoy the struggle and the pain. Why do I run? I run because I want to, and the answer was always that simple. Thank you.